Hello everybody. Some of you might know that I was born in Botswana and lived there and in South Africa before I came to Canada as an international student. Growing up in Africa, I had first-hand experience of white privilege and of the brutalizing and dehumanizing consequences of racism, segregation, and apartheid. I was fortunate that my parents and many of my teachers opposed racism and taught me to question and challenge injustice and oppression. But inevitably, when you grow up in a society where racism is not only systemic but institutionalized, you imbibe some racist thinking and stereotypes. I think of the history lessons at school. The history of Africa was presented largely as a story of European conquest and triumph, and African defeat and subjugation. In these lessons, Africa didn't really exist until European explorers set out to chart its coastlines and interiors. Think of the stories: intrepid Portuguese navigators, plucky Dutch settlers, civilizing British and French colonists, all culminating in the so-called scramble for Africa at the end of the 19th century, when European powers divided up the continent as spoils with no regard for its peoples or their histories, cultures, and traditions. Black Africans were presented simply as the tools or pawns or victims of European power. It was not until I got to university that I learned about the incredibly rich history of pre-colonial African societies and the scale and depth of resistance to colonization. And even then, the professors I had, while deeply committed to uncover these hidden African histories, were all white. I tell you this story to make the point that it is important to interrogate versions of history, especially history written to reinforce dominance and oppression, and it's important to listen to those whose families and ancestors lived that history. This is a timely reminder because in February we celebrate Black History Month across North America and around the world. This celebration dates back to 1926 when Harvard-educated African-American historian Carter G. Woodson created a week dedicated to Black history. And celebrations of the cultural contributions of Black people in Canada started around the same time. In the 1970s, the week expanded into Black History Month. And in 1995, Black History Month was officially recognized by the federal government. In fact, it was the Honorable Jean Augustine, the first Black Canadian woman elected to Parliament, who brought forward the motion in the House of Commons. This year, although we can't be together in person, we will still celebrate and remember the many ways Black Canadians contributed to Canada's history and culture. I urge you all to take the time to learn about Black history in Canada and beyond. There are some fabulous resources available. There are articles, books, podcasts, and movies. I myself am learning about Black history in Canada, and it is a rich and fascinating history. Recently, I've been reading about the Black families who left California to settle in Salt Spring Island in the late 1850s. I've also been reading about the vibrant Black communities of Hogan's Alley in Vancouver and of Africville in Halifax that were destroyed in the name of urban planning in the 1960s. And I'm delving into the biographies of prominent Black Canadians like Viola Desmond, Portia White, John Ware, Carrie Best, and Sam Langford. Fittingly, the 2020 theme for Black History Month is Canadians of African Descent, Going Forward, Guided by the Past. Because of the pandemic, most of the events this year will be online. Whether these are at Royal Roads or elsewhere, these events give us the opportunity to listen to and learn from others and hear different perspectives. Here in BC, the Black History Awareness Society is hosting 5 online events throughout the month, each focused on a different aspect of Black history in this province. So I hope you will join me for some of these events and that you will take the time through February to learn a bit more about this very important history. Take care, everybody. and have a good weekend.